The Los Angeles Rams went all in, not one hand, both. Les Snead shoved every chip to the center of the table, and now the whole league is holding its breath. This is a team with the reigning most valuable player and the reigning defensive player of the year on the same roster, the first franchise to hold both at once since the 1970 merger. And there is one name on this roster most fans skipped right past on draft night, a name who tells you everything about how far Snead and Sean McVay were willing to reach. Keep him in mind. Start with the offense, because it set the tone for everything. Matthew Stafford threw 46 touchdown passes and won MVP at 38 years old. Puka Nacua led the NFL in receptions and stacked 1,700 receiving yards. Davante Adams led the league in receiving touchdowns. Kieran Williams ran for 1,200 yards and 10 scores. Then the defense stole the headline of the offseason. The Rams traded for Myles Garrett, the best defensive player in football, in the biggest defensive deal in 2 decades. Everyone saw the trade. Almost nobody understands why it matters more here than it would anywhere else. The answer comes later, and it changes the whole picture. Here's the weight pressing down on all of it. The Super Bowl this season sits inside SoFi Stadium, the Rams' own building, a home Super Bowl. And standing in the doorway is the one team the Rams have failed to get past, the Seattle Seahawks, the reigning champions who beat them 3 ways last year, 2 down-to-the-wire regular season games, 1 heartbreak in the NFC Championship, a 31-27 loss on Seattle's field. The gap between these teams is thinner than a sheet of paper, and the Rams spent the whole offseason trying to close it. What they built to close it is the story we break apart next. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Rams and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 500 likes on this video. The offense is why the Rams believe. In 2025, they scored more points per game than any team in football, and they did it with a style no one else runs. Sean McVay built an identity around 13 personnel, 3 tight ends, and 1 back on the field at once, and the Rams leaned on it harder than any offense in the league. Defenses hated it. They never knew if a heavy formation meant a run up the gut or Puka Nacua slipping open down the seam. In the Week 16 Classic against Seattle alone, the Rams ran a record number of 13 personnel snaps and piled up nearly 600 yards of offense. The engine is Matthew Stafford, and the MVP season was no fluke. 46 touchdown passes, 8 interceptions, a stretch where he threw 28 straight scores without a single pick. At 38, he signed on to run it back, and the weapons around him returned intact. Puka Nacua turned into the most dependable target in the sport, leading the NFL in catches. Davante Adams found the end zone more than any receiver alive. When your 2 starting wideouts finish first in receptions and first in touchdowns, the math gets ugly for a secondary. One change hides under the surface. Mike LaFleur left to become the head coach in Arizona, and McVay promoted Nate Scheelhaase to offensive coordinator. Continuity, not chaos. The same run splits, the same tight end packages, the same trust in Kieran Williams to grind out yards while Blake Corum spells him. The Rams do not chase shiny toys. They pound the process. And a process this clean, feeding an MVP, is the reason the defense woke up on the right side of the scoreboard almost every week. The Rams had one fatal flaw last season, and it lived in the secondary. Their corners surrendered more receiving yards than any team in the NFL and tied for the most touchdowns allowed through the air. The pass rush was fine. The safeties held up. The outside corners were the loose thread every good quarterback pulled. Sam Darnold pulled it hardest of all. So Les Snead attacked the position with force. He traded for Trent McDuffie and handed him a 4-year contract worth $124 million, making him the highest paid corner in league history. Then he signed McDuffie's former Kansas City teammate, Jalen Watson, on a 3-year deal. 2 press corners with championship pedigree dropped into a room screaming for help. Watson allowed 0 touchdowns in coverage last season in Kansas City. The one weakness opponents feasted on became a strength on paper overnight. Now hand the room to Chris Shula. His defense climbed from 15th to 1st in overall grade last season, and he loves to disguise coverage with late rotations. Twisting a quarterback's red the instant before the snap. Give a scheme like his real corners and a monster pass rush, and the timing becomes a nightmare for anyone under center. Byron Young, Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, and the linebacker duo of Nate Landman and Omar Spates held the middle down on cheap deals. The bones were strong. The Rams spent this spring adding muscle, and the biggest piece of muscle was the one nobody expected to be available. Here's the stat almost nobody brings up. Across 2, down to the wire games, against the Seahawks last season, the Rams scored 58 points to Seattle's 57. They gained 830 yards to Seattle's 829. 1 point, 1 yard, over 120 minutes of football. In the Week 16 meeting, the Rams led 30-14 in the fourth quarter and still lost in overtime. The Seahawks won the Super Bowl. The Rams went home. The difference between a parade and a long offseason was almost nothing, and everyone inside knows it. So the Rams keep swinging, and the wildest swing might still be coming. Aaron Donald retired after the 2023 season, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, the man who made the game-sealing play in the Rams' last Super Bowl win. Since the Garrett trade, the rumors have not stopped. Donald has floated the idea himself. McVay stays in touch with him through the summer. The pull is obvious. The Super Bowl sits in his old home stadium, and Myles Garrett is already waiting in the locker room. Picture the front for a second. Garrett off the edge. Donald on the interior. 2 future first-ballot Hall of Famers. On the same line, chasing a ring at SoFi. No coordinator on earth has a clean answer for it. Donald is 35 and 2 years removed from a snap, so nobody should pencil him in as a full-time starter. A rotational rush roll of 20 to 25 snaps, though, would still bend games. Whether he laces them up or not, the mere possibility tells you how far the Rams will reach. Remember the name from the top, the one fan skipped past. It is Ty Simpson, the quarterback out of Alabama the Rams took 13th overall. In a win-now offseason, with the 38-year-old MVP under center, spending a first-round pick on a passer who will barely see the field stunned a lot of people. Reports even suggested McVay looked unhappy in his own draft night press conference, hinting at a rare split of opinion between the coach and Snead. But look at the logic. Snead traded away future firsts for Garrett and McDuffie, so the Rams needed the answer at quarterback in the building and before those bills came due. Simpson is the succession plan, the arm meant to sit behind Stafford and take the keys in a year or two. His rookie impact this season should sit near 0, and the Rams are fine with it. The rest of the class fits the same mold. Max Clare, a smooth tight end from Ohio State, walks into a room already stacked with Colby Parkinson and Terrence Ferguson. Keegan Trost posted the highest tackle grade in his draft class as a depth swing on the line. Several evaluators pegged Clare as one of the most complete tight ends available, so grabbing him at pick 61 looked like a steal. Round 6 brought C.J. Daniels, a contested catch specialist from Miami, buried behind Nkwa, Adams, Jordan Whittington, and Kanata Mumpfield. Round 7 added Tim Keenan, a bowling ball of a rookie nose tackle, built to eat blocks in the run game. Out of all 32 teams, few will get less from their rookie class in year 1. And here's the twist. For a roster built to win right now, this is by design. The Rams are not drafting for September. They are protecting the window they slammed open, a window measured against the one team blocking the door. The road to a home Super Bowl runs straight through Seattle. The Seahawks finished 14-3 last season, a franchise record for wins, then rode it into the second Super Bowl title in team history. Sam Darnold found a second life under center. Jackson Smith-Njigba led the NFL in receiving yards. They are the champions, and they live in the Rams division. But the roster around them barely moved this offseason. Seattle lost its offensive coordinator and 3 defensive contributors, and added almost nothing of note in return. The gap the Rams stared at last January was 1 point and 1 yard wide, and Seattle stood still while Los Angeles loaded up with Garrett, McDuffie, and Watson. On paper, the Rams closed the distance and then some. The rest of the division offers little resistance. The San Francisco 49ers won 12 games last year while battered by injuries, and the run of talent around their core is thinning. The Arizona Cardinals hired Mike LaFleur and are still building toward something. If the Rams stumble in the division race, the wild card door stays open, because a team with this roster does not miss January. The real question was never whether the Rams reached the tournament. It was whether they had the horsepower to survive 21 games of it. So why does the Myles Garrett trade matter more for the Rams than it would for anyone else? Complementary football. Garrett spent his Cleveland years on teams finishing dead last in scoring, forced to chase leads they never held. In Los Angeles, he lands behind the highest scoring offense in the NFL. When your team plays with a lead every week, an edge rusher stops chasing and starts hunting. The ripple effects run everywhere. Garrett commands double teams the way few humans ever have, which frees Byron Young, coming off a 12-sack season, to win one-on-one. It frees Kobe Turner inside. It hands Chris Shula a chess piece he never owned. Garrett set the single-season sack record last year, added the second most tackles for loss in modern league history, and sits on more than 125 career sacks at 30 years old, in his prime, on a real contender for the first time in his life. This is the best defensive player in football, finally playing meaningful January games. And here's the reveal. The Rams did not add a great player. They completed a machine, reigning MVP on offense, reigning Defensive Player of the Year on defense, the first team since the 1970 merger to hold both at once. Feed a top pass rush with a lead every Sunday, disguise it with a rebuilt secondary, and sprinkle in the ghost of Aaron Donald, and you get a roster with no obvious hole. The only thing left to settle is the size of the prize. Everything points to one word: stakes. The Super Bowl lands at SoFi Stadium this season, and a home team has never lifted the trophy on its own field. The Rams built this roster for one shot at flipping history in their own building with an aging MVP who chose to run it back one more time. This is not a rebuild or a bridge year. This is a franchise saying the time is now, out loud, with its checkbook. So make the call. This roster wins 13 games, takes back the NFC West from the Seahawks, and reaches the Super Bowl inside its own stadium. Doubt it if you want, and drop your record prediction in the comments, because the argument writes itself. Are the Rams the best team in football, or does Seattle prove again the champion does not flinch? Hit subscribe before the next breakdown drops, because every NFC West preview from here decides how this race ends. 1 yard, 1 point. The margin last year came down to almost nothing. The Rams answered it with the best defensive player in football, the highest paid corner in history, and a first-round quarterback for the day after tomorrow. Now they wait to see if Aaron Donald walks back through the door and turns a loaded roster into a legend. The chips are in the middle, the cards are about to turn. And the whole league is watching Los Angeles to see if the biggest bet of the offseason pays off in February.